And we will continue our coverage right now, honoring the late senator. Her memorial service at San Francisco City Hall just wrapped up, and San Francisco Mayor London Breed led that service. Speaking today, Vice President Kamala Harris, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and her granddaughter, Eileen Mariano. It was a beautiful ceremony, and Crown Force Charles Clifford is live for us now at City Hall. So, Charles, how was the service? How did the crowd receive it?
Well, it was just a lovely service. You know, it lasted a little less than an hour, which is good because it's very hot outside. We heard from quite a few people. We heard from the Mayor London Breed, who reflected on being a teenager and playing the French horn in band, so for Dianne Feinstein, and then working with her as mayor when Dianne was senator. We also, on a pretty regular basis, had the Navy's Blue Angels flying over, which no one got really tired of because Dianne Feinstein helped bring the Blue Angels to San Francisco back in the 1980s. So they've been flying over during the entire ceremony. Not a problem. Everyone's really seemed to enjoy that and clapped quite a bit when it would happen. Right now, the crowd kind of is thinning out here. It's pretty hot outside. Everyone sort of moved against City Hall into the shade right now. If you take a look in the distance behind me there, Kamala Harris, Vice President's motorcade, is preparing to leave, take her back to the airport here. So it's kind of wrapping up a little bit, but it really was a very nice ceremony. You heard from, you know, the late senator's granddaughter, who reflected on spending time with her grandmother away from politics. She said she was a very warm, loving person and that they had a very strong relationship. You heard from Nancy Pelosi, who, you know, had a long working relationship with Senator Feinstein. They're neighbors. They live right down the street from each other. Nancy Pelosi said she could see Dianne Feinstein's garden from her house and that she always had really nice flowers in her backyard. So it was just a really lovely ceremony. And you know, as we head into the late afternoon hours here, everyone's kind of wrapping up and heading their separate ways. But it really was a good ceremony.
Charles, just a few questions for you here since you were there. The Blue Angels, some of that was planned and some of it was them just practicing before the air show. And since the senator was so influential in bringing Fleet Week to San Francisco in the 80s, I wondered if they had tried to make that happen.
I don't know if it was how much of it was arranged. There were a couple of passes they made over San Francisco City Hall that seemed kind of deliberate. And then you're right, they kind of moved into just a rehearsal because they've got their shows coming up tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. They're still flying right now. But I think there initially was some planned flyover stuff over City Hall here, but now they've sort of moved into their usual practice routine. They're at the City Hall here, Civic Center. This is kind of a valley. It's surrounded by tall buildings, and those Blue Angels will just come out of nowhere without warning over the top of us and then disappear almost as fast. So a lot of flyovers over the last hour or so, but no one really seemed to mind that much. Justine?
Speakers, it's such a mix. It brought some of her Jewish heritage into it with the singing from her rabbi and the cantor, also her political friends and people that she has worked with for many, many years, plus her granddaughters bringing that more personal element into it. Was there a particular speaker that maybe had the crowd feeling a little bit more emotional? I thought her granddaughter just spoke so beautifully about her.
Well, you know, a lot of like Mayor London Breed and Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris kind of spoke about their long working careers together, but really it was her granddaughter at the end who was telling these personal stories about playing hide and seek with her as a kid, and that Dianne Feinstein used to give her haircuts and her parents would get mad because the haircut was uneven, and just sort of that normal interaction between a granddaughter and a grandmother and just kind of those memories. And she told this great story about how Dianne Feinstein had told her that no matter where you go, always make sure you have a black pantsuit, and that was just a lovely moment there. So I really think it was her granddaughter at the end that really made it emotional.
Oh, I'm going to take that advice, I think, from now on. But how about the heat? I mean, were people sweating, getting hot? Did you see anyone get sick? Because it could not be hotter in San Francisco today.
Yeah, it's hot. You might have just noticed somebody went by on a gurney there. It's got an ice pack on his head. There were a couple other people we saw get taken away by the San Francisco Fire Department. They were bringing in some ice packs. A lot of people in the audience were fanning themselves. So you want to pay tribute to Dianne Feinstein, but it's probably a good thing that the ceremony wasn't that long because it's very hot. And as I mentioned, right now the crowd that's still here, they've all moved into the shade against San Francisco City Hall. I'm sitting here baking in the sun in a suit, so I can tell you that it's pretty hot out right now. And for sure, there are some folks who probably had a hard time, but they're getting them all help right now, and we're sort of wrapping this up. So that's a good thing.
Charles Clifford, thank you so much for your coverage. I know you have more work ahead of you today to bring us more of the sights and sounds from this service. Thank you so much.